I grew up in Ireland before I relocated to Australia almost 20 years ago. And one of the things which Irish people are renowned for around the world is telling good stories and sharing a joke. And what I've learned is that isn't just a good skill to have in the pub, that's actually a great skill to have in life, because storytelling is actually the number one skill in business for connecting with people, for normalizing new ideas, for making what you have to say sticky and engaging for people. And as I started to scratch the surface on that, what I discovered was really interesting. We've actually been learning through stories for millennia. It's part of our DNA as humans. That's how we learn. If you look at the cave paintings in Arnhem Land, which go back to 45,000 BC, or the paintings in the Lascaux caves in France, which go back to 15,000 BC, that's how we've been communicating through stories. And in Ireland, we had what we call the Shanakees, who were the storytellers. And this was the oral storytelling tradition that's been handed down from generation to generation. Now, in the business world, surely we're more grown up and more serious than that, and stories haven't got a role to play. But in fact, they've got an even more important role to play, because in the world that we live in, we've got so much content. We're just inundated with content, and it's just noise. But a great story cuts through that noise. A great story has the capacity to change how people feel. It has the capacity to ensure that they retain the idea or the grain of the thought. It actually has the capacity to change how people's brains actually work, which I find fascinating, because great stories often do one of two things. They bring out an emotion of empathy or an emotion of distress. And when that happens, something in the brain happens. We release oxytocin, or we release cortisol, and that actually changes how we feel as human beings. So one of the things which has really come through in all the time I've spent working with businesses and talking to audiences is that great stories connect, and we need to look for those stories inside our businesses. We need to bring them up to the surface, and then we need to tell them. We need to tell them in a way that's authentic and credible and engaging, and maybe with a little bit of sense of humor from time to time, not take ourselves too seriously. But ultimately, we need to harness the power of stories and recognize the fact that the most powerful words in the English language might just be once upon a time.